Came back up to the poles came back up. They were
Right.
bent, and at least it kept my plants watered.
Oh, is it wet inside?
That black tub that I
Yeah.
have, that big,
Yeah.
is halfway full of water.
Whew.
Yeah,
But
but
nothing's froze.
none of them died.
Wow.
I mean, even that spider plant that I moved in there,
Right.
the leaves on top of it were all wet, but they didn't freeze. And see, I thought that because when I opened it up, I'm like, that roof was way down
Right.
and was in that tub. I'm like, oh my God, all those plants are probably dead. Every single one of them is alive.
All right. Well, we still got to get you a new greenhouse, though.
What? We got to get another one.
So, okay, dear, if you can get Spanky so that I can.
But I just wanted to let you know.
Well, that's good news. Thank you.
Yeah,
And dear,
what?
you just let 15 other people know.
Oh.
Good morning. Good morning. How's everything going? Man, I tell you, this has been, as y'all heard, my wife talking. While I was in here setting up for the stream, she was out taking care of her greenhouse and her plants, looking at that. And as you heard her say, the greenhouse had collapsed under the snow and ice. Okay, that's no two ways about it. The greenhouse had collapsed. And so we pulled the heater out of it because we didn't want to set the greenhouse on fire. And so it's gone 48 hours without any heat inside. And she went out and just come in, gave me the good news that she didn't lose any of the plants in there, and that the greenhouse, we still got to get her a new greenhouse. But it is what it is. It makes me a happy camper. If it makes her a happy camper, it makes me a happy camper. Other than go out, and I tell you, it's cold here. Okay, it's not as cold as it has been. When I got up this morning, I woke up at 2:00, and it was 19 degrees out. And right now it is 33. So we're going to have a $300 water bill this month. I can see that. City don't care that you've been running the water to keep your pipes from freezing. All they care about is that you ran water. So we had an outside water hose running because it's not protected at all. Well, I got two of them outside. One of them's pretty well protected. I get every month I get a styrofoam box in. And last year I took one of those styrofoam boxes and cut it out and fitted it up around one of the outside water pipes, and then filled it with the expansion foam. And then this year I went back and looked inside of it, and where the expansion foam had worn out, I topped it off again. So it's got probably 5 inches of expansion foam around it. So that does that does a lot to insulate. That insulation expansion foam, that does a lot to keep that from breaking. Then the one inside the fence line that's further up, it is it's right up against the fence. So I can't encase it like that. So what I've done with that one there is I took shoe boxes and taped them together and then taped them around it. Then I filled those shoe boxes up with foam. And of course, the shoe boxes, the cardboard fell apart as soon as they got wet, which is what I was expecting. But it kept the foam around it. So, but just to be on the safe side, we've run the water through the garden hose coming off of there. And one night we got out there a little bit late. Was it yesterday? Hey, morning, Neil. We got out there a little bit late, and the wife said she went to turn the water on, and it took a couple of seconds before the water finally started coming out the hose. So evidently it was starting to freeze in the hose line. Hey, good morning, Digi. So evidently it was starting to freeze in the hose line a little bit. So, but had to have that water running all night. Plus the add-on room, bathroom, since the water lines for that run right against the outside wall, left that bathroom water running so that those lines wouldn't break, because these are those flexible lines, are not the standard PVC or whatever lines. So PVC or copper that you normally find inside your home. So these are those flex lines. And I'm not too sure how well they hold up against cold weather and such. So it's just, like I said, we're expecting a $300 water bill this month because of this. Because that water, we've had water running basically 12 hours a day for the past 3 days. Yeah, PEX line. Thank you, Neil. And like I said, I'm not real familiar with it, so I don't know how well it would hold up against cold weather. But anyway, like I said, it's 33 degrees outside right now at 9 o'clock in the morning. So that really makes it, whoops. That really, it's cold. And for Florida, for 33 degrees, it's dang cold. It's colder than what I want it to be. Let's put it that way. I did not move back to Ohio because I did not want to be in this cold. Okay? It's that simple. I did not move. I had a chance to buy my mom's house 7 years ago. Just pay it off. And it would have been my house. And the wife and I talked about it, and it would have made her closer to her parents, her mom and dad, stepmom and dad, bonus mom and dad, however you want to call it. But I'm like, no, this is not something I want to do. That cold air is just too freaking cold. I don't want anything to do with it. But not interested. Sorry about that. I don't like the snow. Got down to 14 where you're at now. Well, like I said, it was 19 degrees at 2 o'clock in the morning this morning here. So, and as a wind chill is 0. That's, like I said, that's too damn cold. Okay, well, let's start off with something that I just found out about this morning. I knew that the first night. Okay, we know Trump signed a lot of executive orders, and some of those executive orders we knew were going to happen. We knew the executive orders were going to come. Everybody in the country knew they were coming. And one of them was the pardoning of the people imprisoned for January 6th. And these, most of the prisons that the January 6th people were at, they were released that day. You blame it on HARP? Man, that brings back some old, Dan, what was his name? The alien guy? That brings back some old memories. Man, that's back when I used to listen to him on when I was delivering donuts at night. Oh man, who was that alien guy? Coast to Coast with, man, what was the name of that show? Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. That's who it was. Yeah, that's the first time I heard of HARP was listening to Art Bell. Listen, yes, he was the only thing on the radio at when I was delivering donuts at night. And he made it fun. He kept the drive interesting. He kept me awake. I never did like George Norrie. I didn't like when he substituted for Art Bell or anything else. But anyway, most of the jails, including Philadelphia, did a good job releasing the January 6th people. They knew that was coming, and they knew the names. And, all they had to do is get the list of names, and boom, they had the people out. Except for Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C.'s prison, it took them, as far as I know, they finally released the last of them yesterday. Finally. That's as far as I know. There may be a few still left. I hope not. But they used all kinds of excuses. On Monday, their excuse was, well, it was a national holiday, Martin Luther King Day. And so the people that were needed to do they're working on skeleton crew. So they didn't have the people available to release everybody. Well, on Tuesday, their excuse was, well, we need some people. The people we need to do some of this paperwork and such aren't here today. And so their excuses for Wednesday, I don't know what excuses they're using for Wednesday. I think they finally did start to actually release them. So that's absolutely ridiculous. A lot of people are upset about him releasing the January 6th people. They sentenced the January 6th rioters, and now those judges are calling out Trump and poor losers. The federal judges in Washington, D.C., who handled hundreds of cases from January 6th, are pushing back against Donald Trump's mass clemency for convicted rioters, rebuking the newly pardoned as poor losers, and memorializing the blood, feces, and terror from the U.S. Capitol attack. The orders from the judges serve as a reminder of the judiciary's work and factual findings bring justice, guilty pleas, trials, and sentencings for more 1,000 rioters, both those who walked in the building then left, as well as far more violent participants who fought police and other law enforcement. Tanya Chutkan, the judge who oversaw Trump's 2020 election federal criminal case, wrote that some of the more graphic descriptions she did as she dismissed one of the pending rioter cases before her on Wednesday. Dismissing the case, Chutkan wrote, cannot whitewash the blood, feces, and terror the mob left in its wake, cannot repair the jagged breach in America's sacred tradition of peacefully transitioning power. Their language also serves as a political statement following Trump's sweeping pardons, standing in stark contrast to the president and other Republicans who make it celebrities of the former prisoners. Just as an aside here, I am upset with myself in a way for not remembering the gentleman's name. He's been sitting in jail. He sat in jail for 4 years without a trial, waiting to go to trial. He sat in jail for 4 years. Because the judges refused to give him bail. I'm not excusing what happened on January 6th. Though a lot of people were walked inside, escorted around. Hey, Ron, good morning. That's Raman. I've heard that also. That some of them have been badly treated, mistreated, and allowed to be mistreated by other prisoners. That the prison guards and staff weren't exactly up on their game. So I see some civil suits coming out of this. A long night again last night, huh, Raman? What was his name? But anyway, yeah, I expect some civil suits coming out of this, violations of civil rights. It won't be the first time and it won't be the last time a prisoner gets released and then sues the state for how they were allowed to be mistreated. But as Neil pointed out, you know, prosecutors dropped charges against Antifa, ones who set fire to buildings in Washington, D.C., ones who attacked senators and Congress critters. Or they weren't arrested at all. Protesters outside of a Supreme Court justice's house, which is a direct violation of federal law, weren't arrested. Remember that? There were, I mean, the one, and they were still going after people up until, just a couple days before Trump became president. The Department of Justice said they found that there were 200 more names that they were going to go after. So, you can't, it's mind boggling. It is truly mind boggling that they were doing this. So we're hoping the last article I could find on this is from 2 days ago, that there were still inmates in the Washington, D.C. jail. And Andy Biggs and Bo Bear and Chip Roy, all three were outside of the jail, wanting, asking questions. So, I mean, there were people prisoners who'd been released from Maryland and from Philadelphia and, other states. So, yeah, there's there's just no excuse for these people in DC for not having being released yet. I can't find an excuse for it. So anyway, get out that and close that. Speaking about Trump's executive orders, and a lot of this today is going to be about Trump's executive orders. AOC had this to say about Trump's executive orders. Remember, AOC came close. Yeah, when AOC led that group, speaking of AOC, when she led that group in the Capitol, that wasn't called an insurrection. But speaking of AOC, this is what she's had to say about Trump's executive orders.
And one of the most simple things that we can do is just not comply. This today, the Trump administration, and also last night, the Trump administration signed a bunch of illegal executive orders.
There's no such thing as an illegal executive order. No such thing. There may be an executive order found to be unconstitutional, but there's no such thing as an illegal executive order. All right, AOC, words matter. And I would assume since you've been reelected into office, you might be somewhat intelligent enough to understand that.
A bunch of illegal executive orders. For example, Donald Trump tried to sign an executive order.
Tried to sign? You mean he did sign? What happened? Are you saying the pen just fell out of his hand? His hand quit working? He had a stroke in the middle of signing it? There's no trying to it. He did sign
An executive order to end birthright citizenship in this country, which is part of the Constitution. It is day one already trying to shred the foundational documents.
The 14th Amendment comes after the Second Amendment. The 14th Amendment, or the Second Amendment, was voted on by the same people who wrote the Constitution. Yet you're willing to shred that in a heartbeat. But if you want to talk about the 14th Amendment, we can have that discussion too. And exactly what it means.
Of American society and try to end birthright citizenship, which basically, as we know, if you are born in the United States, you are a United States citizen. That
there are limitations to that.
Remains. That is the law. That is the Constitution. And he just tried to sign a piece of paper trying to say no. We don't have to listen to him. It's illegal. We don't have to treat this seriously. It's a joke. And that's not to say that what they're trying to do isn't serious. It is serious, but we should not consent in advance. And
okay. Now, she was talking about that. And when you sit down and read the 14th Amendment, okay, there are exceptions to that. Hey, B Token, what's up, man? And one of the things, if he's okay, let's see here. So the thing with the 14th Amendment, okay, and I'm trying to find my page again here. The part that they're talking about, here we go. When it comes to citizenship. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. There, right there is a qualifier. They have to be subject. If somebody has illegally entered the country, are they subject to the jurisdiction of the country that they have illegally entered, other than being either imprisoned or removed from the country? Deported, kicked out. Afternoon, Fury. See, and the problem here is, another thing here is Trump also signed, and this is not my original thought. I'm not this smart. Trump also signed the national emergency at the southern border, declared it a national emergency. As I heard this explained, and my own studies, such as they have been, the founding fathers used English common law. By using English, and so by looking at English common law as a basis for our Constitution and our framework of laws, when you have an invasion of peoples coming across your border, you did not make their children, their offspring born on your land, your own citizens. So by tying together the national emergency, calling what the mass illegal immigration into the country, and I don't see how and again, my own view, I've said this for 4 years at least, the millions of illegals who have crossed the border, and even the left will agree that there's been millions of illegals in our country right now, because they keep harping on how expensive it's going to be to deport them, how expensive it's going to be to deport these millions of illegals. When you have millions of illegals in your border, have crossed your border, what else do you call it besides an invasion? And you don't allow their offspring, the invaders' offspring, to be considered your own citizens. You don't bestow citizenship upon the offspring of an invader. And that, I believe, is going to be, because it's going to go up before the Supreme Court, because 25 states have already filed suit. It's 22 states have already filed suit against it. And I believe Trump's legal team is going to tie those two executive orders together. And the SCOTUS has a good chance, in my opinion, using that logic and considering the makeup of this Supreme Court, of not taking away maybe not removing citizenship from those who've already been born here, but not granting citizenship to those who will be born. Now, personally, as far as I'm concerned, any person who was not born either of American lawful immigrants or whose at least one parent is not a U.S. citizen and was a U.S. citizen at the time of that child's birth, they're not U.S. citizens. Fury, An invasion is an invasion, be it across the land, land or across an ocean, or a sea, or a large body of water like the Mediterranean. When you have people illegally crossing your border in large numbers, especially when a majority of those large numbers are young, military-aged men, there's a problem. Now, there's been other problems with what's come across the southern border, having to do with unaccompanied children. And again, who accompanied those unaccompanied, I'm using air quotes here. How did those unaccompanied children get to the border in the first place? They had to be accompanied. In one way or another, they had to be accompanied. And when we're looking at and let's see here, come over this tab. Trump has ordered 1,500 active duty troops to the border ahead of the Pentagon security plan deadline. This is from military.com. The Pentagon is surging approximately 1,500 active duty troops to the southern U.S. border under orders of President Donald Trump to assist in flying migrants out of the country, as well as building barriers, as the commander-in-chief flexes his new authority and attempts to make good on campaign promises to curb immigration. And that's illegal immigration. Those active duty forces are made up of 1,000 Army soldiers and approximately 500 Marines. It also includes helicopters with associated crews and intelligence analysts to support increased detection and monitoring efforts. The Department of Defense is also providing aircraft to transport upwards of 5,000 immigrants currently detained in San Diego, California, and El Paso, Texas, out of the country. Additionally, the Pentagon will be helping to build a temporary and permanent physical barriers to add additional security to curtail illegal border crossings and illicit trafficking. I like that. Fury. This is not the acapella folk band. I'm waiting for the left to start yelling posse comitatus. I'm waiting for them to start yelling about Trump violating posse comitatus. That's going to be fun. And and what it does is posse comitatus signed into law in 1878. Limits the powers of the federal government to use federal military personnel to enforce domestic policies within the United States. So I'm waiting for them to start yelling and screaming about that. And of course, that will end up, they'll get that up before some judge, left wing judge, and it will that'll probably end up before the Supreme Court. Personally, I believe that we need to have permanent military. I've said it before, I'll say it again. 100 yards. Needs to be along the southern border, needs to belong to the federal government. And 2 walls built on that, one at the border and one 100 yards in. And that 100-yard area be continually under surveillance by drone, by Apache helicopters, Black Hawk helicopters, whatever's needed to secure our southern border from illegals. I love the idea that what Texas had of putting the floating barrier in the along the river there to impede illegals from swimming across the border. I love that idea. I think that's great. Fury, you've got a couple of people over there that have what is CPATER? Oh, Captor. But yeah, that floating barrier that Texas put in, I'd love to see the federal government fund that. That'd be ideal. I'd love to see the Coast Guard patrolling the river on the American side, of course. Don't want to slide in the Mexican waters. But then again, I'm tired of Mexican troops, quote unquote, accidentally shooting across the border into America, into the United States. Now, this is, the immigration, this is causing all kinds of problems across the country among the more liberal minded. And now they're going to feel what it's like to be on the other end of the Department of Justice. Department of Justice to investigate state or local officials who obstruct immigration enforcement. Trump Department of Justice wants federal prosecutors across the country to investigate sanctuary city officials who obstruct immigration enforcement. In a memo, the acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove, Trump's former defense attorney, outlines interim decisions and policy changes pending confirmation of Trump's nominee for U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi. Once again, my only problem with Pam Bondi is she supported red flag laws. She is not strong on the Second Amendment. That's my major problem with Pam Bondi. He said interim changes are necessary as an initial response to Trump's executive orders regarding the three of the most serious threats. These threats bode over the cartels and other transnational criminal organizations such as TDA and MS-13. Don't even ask me to pronounce them things. I don't speak Spanish. And because of Trump's open borders, not Trump's, because of Biden's open border policies, because of the left's open borders policies, we have got a lot of criminals in our country right now. And there's something, Mayorkas has gotten himself in trouble here somehow. And I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. You know, besides his lies, that's what it was. Is one of Mayorkas's people has said that he has lied, and I'm trying to find the story now, and it's not there. And I do not remember exactly what it was. I thought I would find it quickly when it happened, and what it was is Mayorkas said that Biden could have closed the border, and he didn't. All right, that's what it was. I knew I would find it sooner or later. The memo said the second threat is how brutal and intolerable violent crime is by members of these organizations, and illegals are escalating rapidly. And the third threat is how the fentanyl crisis and opiate epidemic are poisoning our communities, killing our people. Now, Trump has ordered that the Department of Homeland Security, they've issued memos to repeal the limits on where ICE agents can go. It's rescinding one of Mayorkas's memos that said that there were areas protected where ICE could not go and to engage, which included schools, universities, hospitals, churches, places where children go, social service establishments, food banks. Couldn't interfere with religious or civil ceremonies, disaster or emergency response or relief centers, or, basically, if you didn't catch them on the street, you couldn't get them. Mayorkas really limited. Well, Trump come in and he said, now if you find them in church, go get them in the church. You find them a mosque, synagogue, it doesn't matter. They're here illegal. They're in the hospital. Handcuff them to their bed. Now, use some common sense. If they're in there having an MRI done, you don't go in and snatch them out of the MRI, or, they're having x-rays done. You don't go and snatch them off the x-ray table. They're in there having surgery, don't go in and pull the surgeon off of them and cuff them up. But I mean, your local police arrest people in the hospitals. Your local police will go into a church and arrest somebody. Yeah, good point there, Fury. But yeah, there's no excuse, no reasoning for anyone to get a pass just because of where they're at. I want to see a very aggressive. Now, supposedly, within 24 hours of Trump's inauguration, they had already arrested over 300 illegals. And I don't know. I wonder if they have. Let's see. Number of illegals arrested since Trump inauguration. Let's see here. It just says 308 illegals were arrested on Trump's first full day, including attempted murder, and a child molester. What were these people doing in the country anyway? There's no excuse. Oh yeah, Fury, I saw a picture of that. Some lone Muslim decided to do his number 3 prayer of the day in the middle of the motorway. Didn't even pull off to the side. He just stopped his car, got out, and laid down in the middle of the traffic lane and started doing his prayers. I'm surprised somebody didn't stop behind him and yank his ass off the street, drive off with his car. You guys got your own problem with that. Y'all need to get that under serious control. But you got to get the right people in office and get certain people out of office. But yeah, I want to see Pam Bondi get in office. The memo states the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution and other authorities require state and local actors to comply with the executive branch's immigration enforcement activities. If the department, maybe Kathy Hochul go in and Department of Justice goes in, FBI, and arrests Kathy Hochul for interference. Or the mayor of Chicago, arrest him for interference. Or the mayor of Denver. Yeah, Neil, I mean, You would think so. In the middle of a highway, stop your car, get out, and start, get on your knees and start praying in the middle of the highway. Doesn't sound like a good idea to me. Let's see. I've already done that one. What's one this? All right. So we're going to jump over to the DEI. Well, before I go to DEI, I want to do this one here first. We were talking about the pardons and the preemptive pardons. Fauci says he will accept preemptive pardon from Biden. Dr. Anthony Fauci, former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, told The Hill on Monday he intends to accept the pardon preemptively offered to him by President Biden. Fauci said in an email the White House approached him about the pardon about a month ago. He did not ask for one. Now, the thing about the pardon here, it's another one of these, for any and all crimes committed. The interesting thing about this, any and all crimes committed, and it goes back, I think it's 14 years back to the Obama administration. And from what I understand, I could be wrong, but I got, a reasonably intelligent source. And and doing my own bit of research, I seem to be able to back it up. This goes back to when the Obama administration had outlawed gain of functioning testing and experimentation. And a few months later is when Fauci started sending money to Wuhan through the intermediary group. Gave money to this group, turned around and gave 95% of it to that group in Wuhan, and then that's where COVID came from. And of course, Fauci knew where the money was going. He finally admitted to that. So, all Fauci did there was continue what had been closed down by Obama's executive orders. Exactly, Fury. It does just happen to match the gain of function research in the U.S. Now, somebody, and I didn't have a chance to back it up here. Let's see here. Let's see, I'll do. Okay. This is a story that popped up this morning. Okay. Several social media users claimed Wednesday that Donald Trump is considering extraditing former chief medical advisor and Biden's COVID-19 chief Anthony Fauci to Russia at the demand of Russian President Vladimir Putin. That is speculation about Fauci's extradition gained momentum on social media platforms that Putin is reportedly seeking to have Fauci extradited to Russia to face COVID-era crimes against humanity as part of the deal to end the war in the Ukraine. This could be, I don't know if this is true or not. I really don't. A lot of people are saying it's fabricated, as here, the context does. And I'm going with the idea that it is a fake story. Okay, I'm going with right now, I am saying that it's a fake story. But if Trump is pissed off enough at Fauci that he I don't know. But if Fauci's to be punished for all of his lies and what he put the United States through, and by extension, the rest of the world, but just for what he put the United States through, I would like to see some individual states, because remember, a pardon by the president is for federal crimes. It does not stop states from coming after him and filing charges against him. I'm reading Fury. You're on a roll this morning. Put Fauci's face in statements with the word "trust the science." I am the science. You would have more astrologists than ancient Greece. I would love to see Fauci brought up on charges here in the United States. He caused so much damage, his lies to the American people caused so much damage. But once again, that's just me. I want to see Fauci brought up on charges. But he's accepted that pardon. So let me. Okay. Now, Trump's another one of Trump's executive orders has caused some problems up in Canada, even. And Pierre Poilievre, I've got to learn how to pronounce his name. Remember, Trump said that there's only going to be two genders. So
executive order, the U.S. government only recognizing two genders, male, female, they're unchangeable. If elected as prime minister, is that something that you're going to kind of walk in line with? Or
the Canadian news is so bent on taking this man and make him into a Canadian Trump. Trump's long lost twin brother of some sort. Trump's clone, Canadian clone. Every time Trump sneezes, they try to make, they go running this guy and accuse him of being just like Trump.
Or what are your feelings on that executive order?
Well, I don't know. Do you have any other genders that you'd like to name?
Me personally?
Yes.
I'm just asking more so if you're in line with what he is saying. Do you agree with what he's saying? Is that something that you would be lockstep with if elected as prime minister?
Well, I'm not aware of any other genders than men and women. I mean, if you have any other that you want me to consider, you're welcome to tell me right now.
Well, there's personally, I am a man. I am people say cis man. There are people there who, they say they're
me too.
Gender
I'm a
neutral.
Man. Well,
you're a man. Yes. There are people there who say they're gender neutral. Yeah. They say they're.
I love the way he turns these around. He did the same thing. Remember the bit, the interview where he's sitting there eating the apple. He does a wonderful job turning this around back on the reporters, making them look as foolish as they really are. You'd think by now they would have learned that don't try to play word games with this guy. Don't try to paint him as a Trump clone. Don't mess with him. Because he'll turn around and paint you with that same brush.
Gender neutral. They're a trans person. Is that something that you would recognize here? Whereas in the States, at least with their U.S. government, the way they're seeing it, there's only two.
I'm only aware of two, but I mean, if you come up with another list, then you're welcome to do that. But I'm aware of two, and as far as I'm concerned, we should have a government that just minds its own damn business and leaves people alone to make their own personal decisions. That's the kind of government I'm going to run.
And with that, the current government, they currently have passports that allow people to put on, gender neutral on their passport.
I like what he said there. The government quit getting involved in people's lives. That's the way it should be.
Advocate groups want the government, mind you, the outgoing government, to ask the U.S., would the U.S. recognize these passports, obviously on their way out, if you are the next prime minister? Is that something that you would advocate for?
I have to be honest.
Yeah.
I have to be honest with you. I just saw your segment on homeless encampments that are popping up all over Toronto. We've got 25% of our population in poverty. Housing costs have doubled. Crime is rampaging through our streets. I just find it to be a strange priority to spend time talking about this. My priority is to give people back control of their lives, bring back Canada's promise that anyone who works hard gets a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods. That's the promise we need for Canadians. If Liberals want to talk about different labels for gender that they want to put on passports in the United States, they can do that. I'm going to talk about the things that will bring home Canada's promise.
I love it. I love it. I mean, he just flat right tells them, quit asking me about American politics and let's talk about what I need to do about fixing Canada's problems. And that's the way it should be. And I just love the way he turns that around on him. You want to talk about, if you as a liberal want to talk about all these things, that's fine. I'm going to concern myself with what real problems are here in Canada. Okay, Digi, you have a good day. Try to make it easy one on you. I hope you guys are. I hope wherever you live there, Digi, that that weather isn't biting you in the butt like it's been biting us here in Florida. At least up here in the Panhandle of Florida. Okay. Now we know that Trump, he's signed an executive order on dealing with DEI. 85% of Canada's problems are imported from the West Coast. Not just from the West Coast, but just from the United States, period. That liberal mindset. Trump ordered all DEI government offices to close up shop by end of day. All right. And that was by end of day yesterday. All DEI federal workers to be placed on paid administrative leave by end of day Wednesday. The Federal Office of Personnel Management, OPM, notified the heads of agencies and departments they must begin taking steps to close.
I have active psoriatic arthritis, but with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints. Count me in. Along with clearer skin, Skyrizi helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And it's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
I've got somebody singing in my ear. There it is. It was this one. By end of day Wednesday, and place government workers in these offices on paid leave. Acting Director of the Office of Personnel Management, Charles Ezell. I used to work with a guy by the name of, his first name was Ezell. Sent a memo to the heads and acting heads of departments and agencies on Tuesday evening, directing them that by no later than 5 p.m. Wednesday, now it's 5 p.m. Eastern time, they're to send an agency-wide notice to employees informing them of the closure and asking employees if they know of any efforts to disguise these programs by using coded or imprecise language. Send a notification to all employees of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility offices. They're being placed on paid administrative leave effective immediately as the agency takes steps to close and all DEIA initiatives, offices, and programs. Take down all outward-facing media, websites, social media accounts, etc. of DEIA offices. Withdraw any final or pending documents, directives, orders, materials, and equity plans issued by the agency in response to the now repealed Executive Order 14035, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility in the Federal Workplace from June 25th of 2021. Cancel any DEIA-related trainings and terminate any DEIA-related contractors. It's gone. DEI is over with. That is what was sent out. Exactly. It's MEI, meritocracy. And see, he's being nicer than I am. It would have been, you got 2 weeks severance pay or a month severance pay, and then you're out the door. You start looking for a job. You got 2 weeks or you got a month to find a job, and then you're on your own. Yeah, you are a lot further north of us, and but for some reason, man, Trump comes into office and we get hit by a snowstorm. My wife went out years ago when the wife and I were either getting ready to get married or we had just gotten married, and we were living in an apartment, and we got snow. We got a lot of snow, very similar to what we just got. We had snow on the ground for over a week. And she'd gone out and built a snowman and put it on the hood of my truck. Yesterday, she went out and built a snowman and put on the hood of my truck and took a picture of it. So we're going to find the original picture and we're going to put the two together with the dates underneath them, probably frame them up. The memo also directed the heads of agencies and departments by noon Thursday, the 23rd, today. That's today, noon. They've got, let's see, it's 11:16 their time, so they've got 44 minutes, 43 minutes. Yeah, 43 minutes right now. A complete list of DEI offices and any employees who were in those offices as of November 5th, 2024. Complete list of all DEI-related agency contracts as of November 5th. Any agency plans to fully comply with the above executive orders in this memorandum. All right. By tomorrow, a written plan for executing reduction of force action regarding the employees who worked in DEI offices, a list of all contract descriptions or personal positions descriptions that were changed since November 5th to obscure their connections to DEI programs. All right. So, they're trying to cover all bases here. All right. They're trying to cover all bases with these orders that went out the other day. You can't say, well, they were in charge of DEI, but now they're going to be my department head or division chief, or they're going to be my personal assistant. That person's job has got to go. That person has to go. They're over and done with. Their contract is over and done with. That was the memo that was sent out from OPM. Okay. But, and then he also sent out another executive order, revokes numerous executive orders of past administrations, including some that have been in effect for decades. One issued by former President Bill Clinton, which required federal agencies to address environmental justice for low-income and minority populations. Another one signed by former President Lyndon B. Johnson, which required government contractors to adopt non-discriminatory practices in hiring and employment. All right. So these are some, what the man did. However, if you go and do a Google search this morning, or in my case, I did a Bing search for defying, I'm sorry. Oh, did I accidentally close? Okay, there it is. If you look at it, you see that there's ATF is defying President Trump's DEI orders. Exactly, Fury. How do you tell somebody's a DEI hire? They got red or green or purple hair. Red, green, purple, blue. Blue's another common one. They got septum. Women have got, well, a lot of men too. They got septum rings. Not just that little funky nose piercing on the side of the nostril. They got that bull ring hanging out. They got that septum ring. And they got lip rings or eyebrow rings. The more facial piercings they have, the more likely they are going to be a DEI. Yeah, exactly. They've got a bull ring, but they're still cucks. Exactly. So, ATF is defying President Trump's DEI orders. The ATF is circumventing President Trump's orders on DEI. They are hiding the DEI chief by changing her title, but not her responsibilities. They are now calling her senior executive. And this is it here. And Lisa T. Boykin, Chief Diversity Officer, Office of the Director. Okay, so I mean that's real clear. You know, Stephen Dettelbach, he's no longer there. He retired. He resigned the other day. He was given. Remember, I showed you the video of him getting the 80% lower, which was illegal in Washington D.C. So she worked directly for them. She is a high muckety muck in ATF. Well, now it shows her being a senior executive. But if you go back to the memorandum that was sent out by OPM, send an agency-wide notice to employees informing them of the closure and asking employees if they know of any efforts to disguise these programs using coded or imprecise language. Okay. And then there was a complete list of DEI offices and any employees. And then a written notice for executing reduction of force regarding the employees who worked in a DEI office. So Ms. Boykin here at the ATF how she could be considered anything else, listed as anything else, as working for DEIA. They're trying to cover her up. Let her keep her job. Let her keep her job and keep doing what she was going to do, what she's been doing. Except, they want her to be known now as just a senior executive instead of the chief diversity officer. They didn't even change her photograph. They didn't even change her photograph. It's the exact same photograph. They just changed the title. And when did they change? Let's see. Yeah, this is from yesterday. Because you see, Diedelbeck is gone. So now it's just showing Richardson. And they just changed her job title. Richardson needs to be fired. I don't know if there is a crime, an actual prosecutable crime for this, or if it's just a matter of, okay, you lose your job for doing it. But Richardson and every other person on that row, let's see here. Kirsten DeTino, Brian Nickey, Robert Cicada, Alfonso Hughes, and Matthew Verasso, Pamela Hicks, all these people should lose their jobs. Every one of them, because they were all in on it. Unless they can actually show, unless one of these people actually went and filed a complaint with OPM, every one of them should lose their job. Every person there who's got their picture on here, every one of them should lose their job. I wonder here. I wonder. I'm looking up something here real quick, and let's see here. Does that do it? Can that get it for me? Okay, here is. Okay, I just pulled this page up. All right. And there she is right now, live. Lisa T. Boykin, listed as a senior executive. So this here's the 23rd at 10:29:45 a.m. Central Time. And she is on their website as a senior executive. How's that for some? She should have been packing up her stuff and gone. She should have been packed up and gone. But I don't know how they're going to get around this or not. I really don't know. Okay, what's that? All right. So, guys, you know, Trump calls DEI programs illegal and immoral. And I get where he's coming from, at least immoral. When you're hiring somebody based upon something that they cannot change, or they had no control over, you got no control over your skin color. You got no control over your height. You got no control over where you're born. I'm going to stick with immoral there, Fury. I understand what you mean by unethical, but I'm going to go with immoral. To hire somebody simply because of their skin color is racist. And I don't care if you're hiring a white person because they're white. I don't care if you're hiring a black person because they're black, or a Hispanic person or an Indian person because of their brown skin or where they're from. I'm only going to hire Indians because they're from India. All right. Boy, my phone just don't give up this morning. You got everybody and their brother calling me today. That's the third or fourth phone call this morning. Okay. Yeah, I can see what you're saying there, Fury. I can understand what you're saying. But you want to hire, especially a government position. Now, somebody's going to say, well, what about military, veteran bonus points? Because as a veteran, when I tried to get a job with the post office, I was, told, well, as a veteran, you get bonus points. Okay, great. I'll take that. That was not something I had no control over. I had the control of whether or not I joined the military. All right. Just like, well, we want a college graduate in this position. That's something you had some control over, whether or not you went to college. You had some control over. And some control over whether or not you graduated. But you got no control over your skin color. You got no control over where you were born, what country you're born in, or what part of the country or what state you were born in. And as J.D. Vance just proved, you can be born to some of the worst familial conditions possible. So bad that your grandmother has to raise you. And you can become vice president of the United States. And it's even harder because he was a white man. He was not given any of the college preferences or military preferences or any other preferences based upon skin color. He's younger than I am. And I know what preferences there were in the military that were based upon skin color and gender. So, you know, you can make it. And for those who say, well, black people can't make it. Well, I'm sorry, but there's a whole lot of black people in the NFL and in the playing, you know, basketball, baseball, football, music, actors, actresses. It's not your skin color that holds people back anymore. You can't use that as an excuse. But anyway, not enough of that preaching. But I will really want to see at least Richardson there fired. I want to save, I want to save this story. I'm going to save this story for last. The last thing I cover. Now I got to thank Prospero for bringing this to my attention because I missed this. If Athena had wanted you born somewhere else, you would have been. Okay. Now, I do not have access to Bloomberg. And Bloomberg is the only one that I've seen that actually has this. Ukraine, Russia. Zelensky says Trump must deploy U.S. troops. President Zelensky said any effective peacekeeping forces deployed in Ukraine will need to include U.S. troops as he appealed to Donald Trump ahead of talks. And what does Zelensky want? He wants 200,000 peacekeepers from Europe and the United States in the Ukraine. He wants 200,000 ground pounders. Ukrainian President Zelensky is seeking a meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump, said on Tuesday wants 200,000 European peacekeepers, which would be needed to prevent a new Russian attack after any ceasefire deal. Absolutely ridiculous. Another article I read said that 200,000 is like asking for all of France's troops. I am not a fan of Putin, nor am I a fan of Zelensky. They're both corrupt SOBs. Exactly, Fury. $200,000 troops from the Europe and the U.S. And of course, with troops come equipment. because Zelensky ain't got equipment for that. And we've pissed away a ton of money just so that their people can go up and down the streets shopping and eat out in restaurants. Meanwhile, we've got homeless Americans. Western North Carolina. It was amazing how after Vice President J.D. Vance went there, FEMA got off their dead ass and started getting some more vouchers and stuff out to the people there that need it. According to what I've read, there's been people who have been found dead in tents, froze to death. Let me see if I can find that article. No, I don't give a shit about Gaza. Okay, let's see here. No, they did not. I was okay. That's why I always look. I try to always look these up before I get into them, but I just open my mouth before looking it up. It was a no, they did not. I'm sorry, guys. That was bad on me for saying that. That did not happen. I apologize. That did not happen. We've got, though, people in Western North Carolina, though, that are still in need of our own help. We've got people in California that need help. We should not be sending any more money to the Ukraine until we got our own people helped. No, I'm not about glassing Ukraine, but we don't need to be sending troops there on the ground. That would start a world war with Russia. That would be bad news all the way around. Okay. Well, I've talked about it enough. You all know that I worked on F-15s when I was active duty. One of the first things, working maintenance, that they teach you, and gets reiterated quite often, is that when you're around running jet engines, you don't stand in front of them. you can get sucked down the engine. Think of that engine, standing in front of that engine. It's like standing in front of a giant vacuum hose. And you put your hand in front of that vacuum hose and it gets sucked up against it. Well, in the air, at least in the American Air Force, and American, Canadian, and British Air Forces, I know this from personal experience. In the mornings before you start cranking engines for jets to fly, people line up. Almost shoulder to shoulder, and walk up and down where the aircraft are standing. And pick up anything that can be picked up off the ground. Pieces of wire, pebbles, rocks, anything that can be picked up. Why? Because if they're sucked up by an engine, they can cause damage. And if it's going to pick up a piece of wire off the ground, it's going to have that kind of suction. This can definitely suck you down that engine. That's just the thing. It's going to happen. And if you get sucked down that engine, your chances of survival are kind of slim. Taiwan Air Force officer killed after being inhaled by fighter jet's engine. A Taiwanese Air Force officer died after being sucked into the engine of a jet fighter. The incident reportedly happened at the Ching Chang Chung Air Base on Tuesday, while the master sergeant was performing pre-shutdown inspection of the aircraft. The officer was inhaled by the engine for some unknown reason. She was later pronounced dead after life-saving efforts were unsuccessful. Yeah. You're going to get pronounced dead if you get sucked down an engine of a jet because you got those blades acting like a blender against whatever extremities they get in touch with. Exactly, Fury. FOD makes short work of engines, and your body is one huge piece of FOD. Well, your body's one huge piece of FO, foreign object. The D in FOD stands for damage, foreign object damage. So, but you can't. Everybody just calls it FOD because you don't want to be telling people that you found an FO on the flight line. No, hey man, go get some FO. And say what? Go out and look for some FO. Nah, it's just a little more correct to call it everything FOD, even though the D stands for damage. One of the things you used to do when you worked on a jet, if you were walking towards that engine, you walked up alongside of it, and you used your hand to feel if there was any suction. I.e., if that engine was running, you could reach around just with your fingers to feel if there was any suction. In response to media reports, it is suspected that the instructor's throttle application caused a female officer to be inhaled by a fighter jet. The case is currently being investigated by a task force in cooperation with prosecutors to clarify its cause. The cause is real simple. Some stupid idiot walked in front of a running engine and got too damn close. That's what the problem was. Oh, you guys read the D is debris? Okay. That makes more sense. That makes sense. Foreign object debris? Okay, that's cool. Oh, Fury. I'm not reading that one out loud. But yeah, guys, if you want to know what Fury just posted, you need to read it because I am not saying it. But I know exactly what he's talking about. But anyway, let's see. Is there anything happening in the world right now that should be aware of? Let's take a look of. But yeah, we had, let's see here. What's happening? Notifications. Yeah, I was planning on streaming yesterday, but we lost power 5 or 6 times before I even would have started to stream. So I wasn't willing to risk it. Breaking news, Mike Pompeo's Secret Service detail has been revoked. This was ordered by President Trump. Interesting. And let's see here. Donald Trump will pardon pro-life activists targeted by Biden DOJ with the FACE Acts. He's already pardoned one woman that was under the FACE Act, was in jail. So let's see here. Let's see if I can find the article on this. Considering how the Department of Justice has not done anything on for the people damaging non-abortion places. Okay. Come on, fingers, work for a change, will you please? Trump pardon FACE Act. Let's see what that finds me for. Trump, no, that's urge to pardon. See if there's anything past 24 hours. House Democrats are calling for Congress to rein in President's pardon powers after the President Trump's mass clemency for the January 6th mob. Yet Congress can't do it. There's nothing there we can't do. He can do. No, I cannot. I cannot find it. Okay. Well, I do expect Trump to pardon some of these Face Act people. Hey, Data, good morning. Well, you missed just about everything because I'm getting ready to shut her down for the day, my friend. Sorry about that. But releasing child killers is okay. Yeah, really. The last thing I want to remember back before my streams got, oh, by the way, YouTube decided that they were wrong in cutting my streams on Monday. I won my appeals, assholes. Excuse my language, but that really upset me. But remember when the Supreme Court justices were coming in, I made a comment about Kenji Brown's necklace because she really stood out from the rest of the Supreme Court justices. Well, it turns out Kenji Brown Jackson wore a symbol of silent rebellion at the inauguration. Well, none of the other women were wearing, and I didn't get a good, I didn't get a good look at it because of the camera angle. But I thought it was the lace doily thing that Ginsburg wore. I thought it was similar to that, but it's not. It's a seashell thing. But it turns out that these are actually cowrie shells. All right, small glassy seashells have been integral to African culture for thousands of years. Okay. Royal regalia often features these cowrie shells. And I know I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, and I don't really give two squats. In many African traditions, shells are believed to carry protective properties and spiritual significance. They're often seen as conduits of ancestral wisdom and protection, used in divination practices and spiritual ceremonies. Let's see if I can find it here. Jackson's choice to wear the shells to the Capitol Rotunda among billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Zuckerberg is also a nod to the thousands of Black women who have to coexist professionally with their own version of the Billionaires Boys Club, and to the white women who exoticize their hair, jewelry, and other satirical markers of identity. It exemplifies how Black women often navigate professional spaces, honoring institutional traditions while asserting cultural identity. She called Jackson's necklace a beacon of hope and assertion of independence. encouraging black women and others who don't support the Trump administration to bring one's whole identity in spaces of institutional power. The necklace carries ancestral strength and draws upon the collective wisdom of generations past. What utter garbage. You're right, that is a joke. Hey, Josh, welcome, guys. So, but that's the last of what I had to talk about lined up for today, other than the good news is the wife this morning went out and inspected the damage to her plants because our greenhouse got collapsed under the weight of all the snow and ice. And if you go back and listen to the beginning of the stream, she gave me a live report. She gave you a live report on the conditions of her flowers. They survived. And yes, we do have to get a new greenhouse. You think they sell walls at Walmart. That's a good one there, Data. But anyway, ladies and gents, I want to thank you all for popping in real quick this morning and listening to me. Raman, I hope you get some rest today. What do self-digits don't do? Your digits? They only dig themselves? What's a dig? You'll be bright and early tomorrow. That's right. Tomorrow's fun day. FPL got their act together. I haven't lost power since yesterday afternoon. Television went out, or cable went out for a bit this morning. At least had to have the cable company resend signals to our cable boxes. So, but if that's the last of my headaches for the day for power and everything, I'll be happy. Except I'll be damn glad when my furnace isn't running 24/7 like it has been for the past 3 days. Because it are cold out there. Come on. I hate it when this stuff don't want to work right. Hey, we're above freezing. It's a whole 38 degrees outside. Anyway, y'all have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Mess that up should have been self-ridges. Never mind the fat finger. Everybody, have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. And have a good one.